Let me tell you something uncomfortable but true. The education system was never designed to make you intelligent. It was designed to make you obedient. Most students study harder, memorize more, and still lose to someone who looks like they're doing half the effort. Why? Because intelligence isn't about working more. It's about how you think. And the CIA, yes, the Central Intelligence Agency, has mastered the science of how to control thinking itself. What if I told you the world's most elite intelligence officers are trained to learn faster, remember longer, and analyze deeper than almost anyone else alive? They don't just collect secrets, they become them. The CIA uses psychological conditioning, neurohacking, and pattern manipulation to train their agents to absorb information like human supercomputers. And when you apply these same cognitive systems to studying, you don't just become a good student, you become dangerously intelligent. You see, most students read a page, highlight a few lines, and call it revision. But that's not how your brain actually learns. The brain learns through pressure, decoding, and prediction. It doesn't grow when it's comfortable. It grows when it's tricked into thinking something is life or death. And that's exactly how CIA operatives train. They don't memorize. They internalize. They don't study facts. They simulate realities. Every piece of data becomes part of their psychological map of the world. Now imagine doing that with your textbooks. Imagine turning every chapter, every formula, every date and theory into part of your own mental web, where information isn't something you look for, it's something you are. You stop being a student and you start becoming a strategist. While others struggle to remember, you'll start connecting. While they cram the night before exams, you'll be predicting the next question before it's even written. The truth is, top students aren't born smarter. They've unconsciously adopted these same CIA-like techniques without realizing it. They've learned how to control focus, isolate cognitive bias, and train their memory through tension and release. That's why they appear calm during tests. They're not calm because they studied everything. They're calm because their brain has been programmed to perform under stress. And here's the dark part. Most people will never access this level of mental clarity because they're too addicted to feeling productive instead of becoming powerful. They'll keep taking notes, rereading, and using the same weak habits because they believe more effort means more success. But intelligence doesn't care how many hours you studied. It only rewards those who study like a spy. So in this video, you're going to uncover 7 CIA secrets that transform your mind from a lazy, distracted student into a focused, manipulative learning machine. These are not random study tips. These are psychological weapons used by operatives who must learn, remember, and apply information with 0 errors because their life depends on it. And once you start using them, your academic life will never feel the same again. You'll notice your memory sharpening, your focus deepening, and your thoughts aligning like clockwork. You'll stop forcing yourself to study and start feeling like you can't stop learning. Because once you learn how to hack your mind the way the CIA trains its agents, your brain becomes your most dangerous weapon. Now, let's begin. 1. The interrogation loop. Learn like a spy, not a student. When the CIA interrogates someone, they never accept answers at face value. They keep looping back, rephrasing, and digging deeper until the truth sticks. Students, on the other hand, just read once and move on. That's why they forget everything a week later. Here's the trick. Every time you learn something new, interrogate your own brain. Ask yourself, why does this happen? What if the opposite was true? How would I explain this if my life depended on it? Each time you question, your brain forms deeper neural connections. You're no longer memorizing, you're reconstructing information until it becomes self-evident. CIA agents use this to remember thousands of data points under pressure. You can use it to own your syllabus. Never trust passive reading. Make your brain your suspect. Interrogate it until it gives up the truth. 2. The cognitive anchor. Program your brain. Like a machine, CIA operatives use anchors. specific triggers that instantly put them in the right mental state. A smell, a word, a motion, anything that locks in focus. You can use the same psychological trick to train your brain to study on command. Pick one specific anchor, like a particular playlist, a scent, or a gesture. Every time you study, use that same cue. Within a week, your brain will associate that cue with intense focus. Eventually, the moment you trigger it, your brain snaps into work mode. You'll stop wasting 20 minutes getting into the mood. Instead, you'll condition your brain like a CIA operative entering mission mode. One trigger, and your focus becomes automatic. That's not discipline. That's neural programming. 3. The black box method. Turn confusion into power. In CIA intelligence analysis, agents face incomplete data. They never know everything, so they use black box thinking, a system of experimenting, observing, and refining through failure. You can do the same with studying. Stop fearing confusion. Every time you don't understand something, don't skip it. Mark it as a black box. Instead of avoiding it, collect these boxes and dedicate one session to decoding them. When you fight confusion head-on, your brain creates neuroplastic expansion, new learning pathways. That's why toppers look like geniuses. They chase discomfort. Ordinary students avoid what they don't understand. Intelligent ones hunt it down. In short, if your study session feels too easy, you're not learning, you're stagnating. 4. The pattern surveillance. Secret. Predict exam. Questions like the CIA predicts threats. CIA agents are masters of pattern recognition. They study behavior, language, and outcomes to predict what happens next. Toppers do the same. They don't study every page, they study patterns. Look at your previous papers, assignments, and class trends. Identify which topics are repeated most often, which concepts teachers emphasize, what type of questions appear in each unit. Once you decode the pattern, you stop studying for the subject and start studying for the system. You begin predicting what's coming, just like the CIA predicts enemy movements. That's how toppers seem lucky during exams. They're not lucky, they're trained analysts. 5. The deception technique. Trick your brain into studying longer. The CIA studies how to deceive the human mind, and that includes their own. Agents are trained to trick their psychological limits by manipulating perception of time and effort. Here's how you do it. Never tell your brain you're going to study for hours. Tell it, just 10 minutes. Once you start, momentum takes over. This bypasses your brain's resistance system, the same system that causes procrastination. It's not about fighting laziness, it's about deceiving it. The CIA calls this covert conditioning, making your mind believe it chose the mission, even when it didn't. The moment you master this, you stop needing motivation, you simply start, and the brain follows. 6. The sensory infiltration method. Learn with all 5 senses. When the CIA wants to memorize complex data, faces, names, codes, they use multisensory recall. They don't just read, they attach visuals, sounds, and movement to the information. Students can use this too. When studying, speak the lines aloud, auditory, visualize the concept, visual, trace diagrams, or write summaries, kinesthetic. The more senses you use, the more anchors you build in your brain. This turns your memory from a fragile text file into a full-blown cinematic experience. You won't just remember the content, you'll relive it during exams. That's why top students recall so effortlessly. They don't study on paper, they study in reality. So stop revising like a civilian. Start briefing yourself like a spy. Most people will watch this and do nothing, but a few of you will actually start thinking like spies. Focused, strategic, unstoppable. So tell me, which CIA secret will you use first to upgrade your brain? Comment it below and prove you're not one of the ordinary ones.